Hello everyone and welcome back to another video in our Autodesk Inventor professional tutorials. In this video we're going to talk about the fillets and chamfers. We're going to start with fillets in this video. In the next video we're going to talk about the chamfers in the modify menu. Fillets are again commonly used more than chamfers. That's why fillets have a larger icon in this top menu here, and also it's available in the right click menu as well. And fillets and chamfers, every time we use them, there's the general rule of thumb, which I believe I mentioned it in the previous videos, and I'll probably say it many more times in the following videos in this tutorial as well. Uh, you design whatever you need to design and add fillets and chamfers last. That's the rule of thumb. Because if you apply a lot of modeling actions and in between you add a bunch of fillets and chamfers, and if you have to go back and modify anything in those features, then those fillets and chamfers may not be applicable anymore. The projected geometries may not work the same way, which would cause a lot of problems, and then you would end up having to go back in the browser tree and find where the problem occurred and spend a lot of time troubleshooting. So that's why always try to finish the design without fillets and chamfers, and then as the last thing to do, add your fillets and chamfers. So let's start with fillets. For that, let's start a quick 3D part. Sketch on XY plane and maybe use a 2-point center rectangle using the origin plane and dimension it, say 120 millimeters in length and 100 millimeters in height. And then let's apply a modeling action to it. Let's extrude this by, to say, 20 millimeters, and then create another sketch this time on this surface. Let's project that geometry so we can take advantage of all the edges. Let's draw a line. Let's design it this way this time. Uh, and dimension that from this edge, say 20 millimeters, and finish that sketch and apply another modeling action to it. And let's say this is a 100 millimeter extrusion. And there are a ton of different ways to design this, and I could have just you know, drawn a sketch like this L-shaped sketch, and I could have extruded the whole thing. I'm intentionally using different methods to design similar parts so that you can see that you can do the same thing in so many different ways. You kind of start with what you feel comfortable, and then you get faster and you start using shortcuts and easier ways to design the same parts. So that's why in every video you're going to see me using different methods to design the same thing. So let's add some holes. Click on hole, and it is using the last used hole settings here, which is fine. Let's add maybe 2 holes. One here, and as we mentioned that in the previous video, we can click on the hole and highlight it. Let's say it is 15 millimeter away from this edge and 30 millimeter away from that edge, and then activate this hole. Let's say this is 30. Let's use that parameter right there, and then click on this edge and let's use this parameter and finish it. Yeah, we added 2 holes there, and let's add maybe a few more features to make it look a bit more interesting. Um, let's make this part a bit, again, rounded. So uh, again, I'm just kind of deciding what to design as we go. I'm going to draw a circle here using the midpoint, and then I'm going to finish that sketch, extrude this portion, change the direction, change it to, add material until you reach that surface. So we have this round edge here. Let's extrude that from the other side. I don't know why I didn't do it before. So let's do that, and maybe just create a line here, and then maybe that is 35 millimeter away. Finish that sketch and extrude that section by 20 millimeters and finish that, and maybe add an oblong shape here too. So let's new sketch on this surface, and then first let's project that geometry and then go back and select 2-point center slot, and we draw a slot right here. And then let's dimension that. Call this 40 millimeter in length and diameter, say 10 millimeters, and finish that. Let's extrude that as well and go backwards So that way we cut some material. For whatever reason, let's say we're designing a part like this, it is mounted from this side and it's got some different features on this side. Intentionally, I'm adding some features here so that we can look at different scenarios with fillets. So let's click on Fillet. Again, it is also available in the right-click menu. And let's just use the default settings, which is the 2 mm. Right now, you see that red arrow next to select edges, which means that it is asking us to select an edge. Let's select an edge and let's see what happens. Notice that this orange arrow appeared. We can drag and kind of like make this radius bigger. And this is a radius information, by the way, not a diameter. If you can keep your cursor on it, you will see that it says fillet constant radius. And you can just hold this orange arrow and kind of drag it and see the preview of the fillet you are adding. This is creating this round, smooth edge for you. And if we come closer to this hole, it is still creating the fillet, but as we meet that middle hole, it notice that the preview disappears because it means that this fillet is not going to be valid anymore. If I try to place a fillet here, it's going to give me an error and say that you can't do that. You can't add a fillet there. As I come back, the preview reappears, and you can see that this also transparent section shows you the original part. Now it is taking material out as you are adding material, as adding a fillet. Let's enter a value here and let's call it 10 millimeters. Let's say it's a 10 mm fillet. And let's just add 10 more millimeters right here. So now we took material out from those corners. And again, you can do the same thing here, right? We can just select this edge, for example. Again, that is taking material out, and that's just adding another fillet to that corner. But at the same time, if I use a fillet and if I select this internal corner, now notice that it adds material. So it's important to understand the difference between the fillets and depending on where you're applying the fillet. If you're applying it to an external corner, external edge, then it's going to take material out. But if you're adding it to an internal corner, then it's going to add material. And what might be the reason for that? And that brings us to a very important purpose of fillets, which is eliminating stress points. You can just so let's say this is a bracket that holds something that is in motion on a servo or a motor or something. And in time, this sharp corner here would break. And by adding fillets, you can extend the life of the part. So that's one purpose of fillet, just creating these sharp edges. One good example would be the windows on an airplane. The corners are always rounded, right? Because if it's a sharp corner, a crack can start from those corners. That's why they design it in a way, they use these round edges and corners to reduce that risk. And I'm sure you already guessed that another reason why people use fillets is, for aesthetics. You can have sharp corners, but if you use fillets, you can kind of make it look more professional, make it look more aesthetically pleasing. Your phone case, for example, I'm sure has some fillets in that design to make it look more sleek. So that's another purpose of the fillets as well. So now let's go back to it and we can continue to add fillets. For example, we can select this section here. Notice that after I selected this fillet, now it's a constant loop. I can apply a fillet to this entire area now. But let's delete that fillet here and let's try to add that fillet again here. Notice that now it is not connecting the entire area. Now this time it is allowing me to add a fillet here, or let's delete that or here. So after you add a fillet, that can change how you're applying fillets as well. And notice also as we are adding fillets, it's adding fillet 1 and fillet 2 the browser tree. And there's no plus sign next to it, which means that it is not a sketch-based feature, it is a placed feature. So if you look at the fillet 1, you can see the preview of that fillet. A lot of people prefer it this way, apply one fillet, and then once they're done with that certain radius and applying that fillet, they just go back and create another fillet and add that fillet to the browser tree. That way they can just kind of go into each fillet and modify it. But you don't have to do that. Let's delete these fillets and look at a different option. So as you're selecting edges, notice that you have this plus sign here. So I can, for example, add 5 mm fillets to these corners. to these edges. Let's say I'm done with adding 5 mm radius fillets, and I can click on plus sign. Now those fillets color turn from red to blue to red. Now I can apply a different radius to a different edge. Now, for example, I can apply 10 mm radius to this corner, and I can keep doing this. I can add, let's say, 2 mm radius to this corner. Now, again, the active one is always blue and inactive one is red. So now I added 5 mm radius to two edges, 10 mm radius to two other edges, and 2 mm radius to one edge. I can finish that. Now that fillet contains all of my fillets, and it's just only one fillet listed in the browser tree. So you can use it that way as well. Or again, you can apply 5 mm radius fillets and then add another fillet to the browser tree if you prefer that. But I've seen a lot of people doing different using different methods to use the fillets. So let's delete this again and start another fillet. And notice that next to this fillet, where you enter the radius, you can change the tangent to smooth G2 tangent. Kind of feel free to, kind of like a portional fillet. You can see the difference in the preview. So let's add maybe a 10 mm fillet here. This is an external edge, so we're taking material out. Let's change it to smooth G2. It kind of like changes a little bit, as you can see. Or you can use inverted fillet. In some applications, this is pretty helpful, but not very commonly used. If you're just learning how to use a CAD software, you're not going to use it for a while, but just it's good to know that you have that option here as well. You can go back to tangent, and it's just a standard default fillet option. And of course, with many other features we looked at in this tutorial, you can always click X, and that's going to clear all your selections. Yeah. And you have a bunch of other options here. These are very helpful as well. The first one is just constant radius, which means that if I'm adding a fillet here, the radius is same here and same here. So this is a 10 mm radius. On this side, it's 10 mm. On this side, it's 10 mm. In the middle, it's 10 mm. It's 10 mm everywhere. But I can just change it to this, for example, and I can just, let's just use a fillet, use this option here, and select this edge. Now I can apply, say, 5 mm radius on this side and apply 10 mm radius on this side. You can have variable radius fillets as well. Well, yeah, you can add variable radius fillet. You can use that as well. Let's cancel that. And go back to the fillet feature and notice that you have a bunch of other options here. In some cases, you want to, add the fillet, the same radius fillet to the whole thing. This is one single body that we are designing. Notice that in a browser tree, you have single bodies, and that's just one, which shows this part. And you can just select the body, and then it will just find all the edges, internal edges and external edges, everything, and it will apply the fillet to everything in that body. You can just quickly apply fillet to the entire design if you prefer to do that. Or if you, let's cancel this and go back to fillet. And if you select this, this is the default selection. That's the priority of the edges, which means that it is going to prioritize all the edges. So it's going to find the edges in your design, and you click on it, it's going to apply the fillet there. For some reason, if you're not seeing the preview, that means that it is not a valid fillet, which means that it would give you a fault. So you have to fix something in the design. Let's go back to fillet again, and there's another option here, which is the edge loops. If you select that, for example, come here and select the edge loop, that's going to select the entire edge loop. So if I come here, for example, right here, it's going to select that entire edge loop here. So it would, let's come to this section and select that entire edge loop here. So it is going to find that loop, and it will apply the fillet based on the diameter you entered, radius you entered. It is going to apply that fillet. Let's cancel that and go back. And there's one more option, which is the feature. Prior to the features, if you select that, you can come to the browser tree, and each extrusion you added, you can just apply this fillet to that feature alone. So we have this extrusion here, which is the first 120 to 100 millimeter extrusion. I can apply fillet only to that extrusion. But a lot of people may not prefer that. You might want to have more control on your extrusion. You might want to select it one by one. A lot of people start that way, which is perfectly fine. Very important detail with that. If you are selecting manually, let's say I'm selecting this line, this line, and this line. As I'm selecting this, let's say I accidentally clicked on another hole here, the hole here, which I didn't want to add a fillet to. This happens all the time. You don't have to cancel and start over. You can hold down the control button on your keyboard and select that line again. That way you unselect it for the fillet feature. That way it is not going to be applied on that hole. Yeah, fillet features are pretty much it, and you have some advanced properties here. For example, automatic edge chain. If I right now using the default settings and select this oblong shape, for example, the slot we extruded, it will just find a loop and fill it for me. But I didn't have to do that. I can just uncheck automatic edge chain and come back here. Now it's not going to select the whole thing. It is going to apply a fillet to only this edge. But right now it is not showing me a preview because it is not going to be a valid fillet. So we're going to use those advanced properties later in more advanced parts, but for now, just know that like a fillet is very commonly used. It gives you these round edges. It helps you eliminate stress points. It makes the part look more aesthetically pleasing. And a lot of times also people design these brackets, and if it's going to be installed somewhere where people will have access to, you might want to use fillets to get rid of some sharp corners so that it doesn't hurt people, it doesn't cause any injuries. There are so many reasons like that, why people use fillets for. And again, we're gonna go over those alternatives and scenarios in different parts and different, situations. And it's just gonna make more sense when we do that, especially in assemblies. But for now, yeah, this explains everything. With fillets, we're gonna go into chamfers in the next video, and that's very similar, very similar concept, used for similar purposes as well. And very important to use fillets where you need it, because when you use a fillet, again, when we create 2D drawings, we're going to be able to call out the fillet, and that's just going to save us a lot of time. And same with the chamfers as well. So again, going back to what I said in the beginning, use the yeah, just features that you want to use, design the part you want to design, whatever you want to design. And once the design is completed, and then add the fillets and chamfers, and then have a better control over your design in the browser tree. And again, in the next video, we're going to talk about the chamfers. See you in the next video. Thank you.